So is the summit as much about Chinese trade as it is about North Korean nukes? Here now is Steve Ford, chairman of Media Enterprises for Forbes Media Enterprises, and Claudia Rosette, a foreign policy fellow from the Independent Women's Forum and a one-time editorial page editor of the Asian Wall Street Journal. So, Steve, the ZTE deal gets done and the summit is back on, or at least possibly back on. Is that just coincidence?
David, no. The Chinese combined these all together, and I think they were quietly very pleased by the reaction of the agricultural sector in this country to the prospect of having tariffs on soybeans and the like. That's going to hurt Republicans in November. So the Chinese hinting that they'll back off from that for certain concessions. Well, by golly, they can make things happen. It's all tied together.
Well, Claudia, what else besides the soybeans and the ZTE deal do you think the Chinese could squeeze us for in order to get this summit thing going?
Well, I think there's a very complicated set of calculations going on under the rug here, and exactly what's being created. I agree with the sort of ZTE summit, but what are they going to squeeze us for, David? In the big picture, what they're squeezing us for is getting us out of the Western Pacific. They're getting us out of that region. I don't mean on trade. I mean as far as American reach. And that's where North Korea comes into it. Yeah, China has been North Korea's backer since the Soviet Union collapsed. They were before that, but they really became the major friend and backer. Russia is too, and North Korea serves a very useful function for China. Yeah, China. This is not China's official line. I'm giving you my interpretation, but this is watching it for years. China says it's disappointed with North Korea's nuclear tests and its antics and its, refusal, its ballistic missile tests.
No, I don't buy it.
China's not disappointed. China's delighted. It humiliates us and bedevils us, and that's China's real play here. Yeah. Expect lots of bumpiness.
All right. Well, Steve, I want to go back to what's happening politically because, the Democrats are painting this as a terrible failure for President Trump, suggesting that it was John Bolton talking about the Libyan example that was the reason why North Korea pulled out, when, in fact, the president himself said, he started to get some bad signals when he felt that China was talking into North Korea's ear and telling him what to do. Is there any credence at all to what the Democrats are saying about this being Bolton's fault, using the Libya model?
Of course not. They're just using a pretense to gum things up and try to get real concessions. And ultimately, what they're going to try to do in this whole process, David, is to try to drive a real wedge between us and South Korea. Hint that good things may happen if we start to withdraw troops. They could get the great deal of the century, just pull back from South Korea. That would have severe repercussions in Japan. China is playing a long game, and I hope we're up to it. And we should be willing to pull back if we don't think we're going to get something.
Well, we just showed that we were,
interests.
Claudia. I mean, that's the point. What happened this week was the president pulling back because he realized he was being played. And I think we're playing long ball, too. It's not just the Chinese. I think they realize that North Korea is a great bargaining chip. They're going to use it for as long as they possibly can. I'm just wondering, we do have a timeline here. June 12th is the day when the summit's going to happen. Will this game playing end with the summit on June 12th? What is your guess?
No. No, look, I thought President Trump canceling the summit was terrific. But it will probably materialize at some point. The North Koreans really do want it. That's a big gap for Kim to sit down with a sitting U.S. president.
But would Kim be allowed? The point is, would Kim be allowed by the Chinese to do that?
I think he might be allowed to do that because, unfortunately, I don't think this summit ends. It doesn't lead to an end to the North Korean nuclear threat. I don't see that. I just don't see that unless there is a change of regime in North Korea.
All right. Well, very quickly, let me go back to Steve. Steve, do you think, finally, we're running out of time, but is it a possibility that we really could denuclearize North Korea?
The only way we're going to get a denuclearized North Korea is if we leave South Korea, ultimately, or reduce our presence to where it has no credibility of preventing an attack in the future. That's their goal, and that's what we got to realize. We've got to ramp up the sanctions because this is going to be a long, drawn-out battle, diplomatically and otherwise.
Yeah, I think the Trump administration is already prepared to ramp up the sanctions, so we'll see more of that. Steve and Claudia, good to see you both. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.